So you just open a record in Dynamics 365, but now what? What actions can I take against this record? Where do I enter the information? How do I find information on this thing? What's this big thing in the middle? It looks like it's got activities and notes and all sorts of stuff. Well, on today's episode, we're going to answer those questions and go through the new unified interface as well. So let's get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the concept of a form. So a form, simply put, is being able to see the information of a single record all laid out in a form layout, in a single layout. So let's go ahead and use cases this time. I know we've looked at opportunities and leads in a previous one, so let's go ahead and go over and navigate to a case. Here we are on our cases, and again, what we're looking initially here at is a list of cases. So these are our views. You can check out episode 6 to find out more information about views. So let's go ahead and open up that first case that I have, average order shipment time. When I click on that, what I get brought into is a view of the single record. And so what I want to do is go over what information is contained on the form, so that way you understand what's here, what you're able to do. And again, be mindful of, depending on the type of record that you're on, whether it's an account or a lead or a contact or an opportunity, you're going to have different items throughout the system. So up top here, we have the opportunity in the command bar to create a child case, resolve the case, cancel the case. And again, that's very specific to the fact that we're using a case. If you have an account or an opportunity, that command bar is going to look different. On the right-hand side here, we have the ability to go down through the list that we saw earlier, and so go to the next record. We also have the ability to pop this out. So what you notice in Dynamics 365, and it came with 2015, CRM 2015, is the concept of being able to do everything in one window as opposed to having multiple windows pop out. And so some people like that, but sometimes you need that record to stay as you navigate around the system, and so you can pop that record out. You also have the ability to close the record. This does the same thing as if you were to close it or if you were to navigate back. Next thing we have, just as we're going down through the screen, is the ability to change the form. So you can have multiple forms, which is, again, it doesn't change the underlying data that's stored in the database, but it allows you to quickly change how the information is viewed. So oftentimes, if you are an account, the information you need to see as an account manager may be different than if the individual that's logging in and interacting with the account is a case in case support. So if it's case support, they need different information than if you're an account manager. So just one scenario where you may use different forms. Going across here, we also have the name of the record. So this will be different. So if you're on account, you'll have the account name there, or if you're on a contact, you'll have the contact name. Because we're in the case, we have the case title there. And so if you're on a custom entity, it'll also be the name of the record itself. Right next to the name, we have a drop down here, often referred to as a hamburger or a navigation. What we have the ability to do is jump to different sections. So this form is a long form, and so we can jump to specific sections on the form by just clicking this icon here. On the right-hand side, what we have is the header. So this is header. This is what's called the header information. So no matter where we scroll, if we scroll up and down on this record, that information up top here is going to remain. And so we always be able to see that information and update that information. Down below, we have the business process flow. And so we saw the concept of a business process flow earlier when we looked at sales and opportunities in episode 4. And so from there, again, you have that same concept in other areas, whether it's a case or whether it's custom entity. You have the opportunity to navigate and to guide somebody through a process using a business process flow. That, again, goes back to the concept of a workflow. What is my workflow when I'm doing a specific task? Being able to guide and ask questions. You do have the ability and the opportunity to click on these different areas to see information around that and to be able to click the next stage. You see the flag icon that tells you where you're at in the stage. And so we're going to go ahead and collapse that for now. And then the rest of the information really is information either about the record itself, about the activity that you're completing, the item that you're doing, or it's information that's related to it. So here we have a number of different areas. So here on this tab, this general tab, we have sections. So you see that case title, case details here, and the description. And so these are just text fields. You'll have option sets here. So different types of fields. You have a lookup field, so you can click and associate a contact, and we'll go through all these different fields. You also have here in the middle the social pane. So the social pane will be different depending on the different records that you're on. So here I have post, activities, and because I'm on a case, I have also knowledge base records that I can search and associate with this case, as well as notes. So here on the right hand side, again, more detailed information. So this is being associated with Lightware, and then down below, this is actual information that's stored on this record up here. And so that allows me to see that information without having to store that information on this record itself, which is great. Even though you can see the information here, you don't have the ability to update this information. To update this information currently, you do have to go to the record itself to make that update to the information. Down below here on the right-hand side is just a good example of related records. So this is recent cases for this record. And so we can quickly see what other recent cases does this company have, as well as entitlements on the right. And again, what we'll get down into is some of the different tabs. So on these tabs, we can hide and show them just by clicking on them on the arrows or clicking on them directly. We can hide and show them. So that allows us to have a shorter form so you don't have to scroll as far, but at the same time being able to have those additional details, be able to capture that information. A lot of times this information down here is being captured up top here in the navigation bar as part of the business process flow, so things to be aware of there. You also have the opportunity to put in information in the footer. So here you see activity. There's no other information down here currently, but you do have that ability to put information there. But what you'll notice is that I can't change that directly, whereas up here in the header, I am able to change that information. The last thing I'll mention before we look at the new unified interface is the related records. So on this last arrow, if we click on the last arrow, so here we are on the record itself, we can click on that last arrow, and this is what is known as related records. So on the navigation here, I can see other child records, so records that are associated to this case specifically. So I can see work orders, activities, closed items, connections, and background process flows. So again, that's the idea of workflows, automation that's in Dynamics that we can see, did they run, did they complete successfully, and if there was any errors. So again, that's just related records, and again, that'll change based on the form itself. So if you were to change this to a different form, those related records may change as well. So the other thing I wanted to cover on this episode is what does the new unified interface look like when it comes that was released with version 9. So we're going to look at the same record, but just using the unified interface. So let's go ahead and switch to that. So here we are in the same record. And again, the navigation is different. And so we aren't going to go through all the different in navigation, but the concepts and the content is consistent when it comes to forms. You see here, we still have the name of the record itself. We also have on the right-hand side the different header information. So some additional header information gets hidden. So things to be aware of when you see that arrow. You still have the command bar up top there. This time it's colored in blue. Below that, we still have that business process flow. And so to see that, we have to click on the different items and we can pop that open. You see it over here on the right-hand side. So as we navigate through that, we can still see that same information that we had seen in the other interface. And then down below, we have that same concept with the data. So here's the information with regards to the account that is being associated, some of the account information that's there. We also have this concept of a timeline, which combines notes as well as activities into one location. So you'd see all the different activities, phone calls, tasks that we have in one place, as well as related records. So here you can see related records, whether it's really related cases that we saw earlier. We can see the knowledge base articles, or we can see the similar cases if we have set that up to associate and prompt us for similar cases. That's the one we're currently working. You notice that the scroll is not as long, so the form is not as long. It goes to more of a tabbed view. So here we can see details. And so here's that detail information along with case relationships, so those related cases. And then finally, we have the opportunity to see related records. You notice that that last arrow is disappeared and is no longer there. And so it's actually down here on the related records. And so here are the related common records that are being associated, and you can see that. So just as we're wrapping up here in summary, hopefully you guys found this beneficial as we reviewed forms. Again, it's simply put, it's being able to view one record in the system and seeing the fields and associated records to that record that's currently open. And so we reviewed the command bar up top, what you can do, the actions you can take on that record, the ability to see the same record in different form layouts, as well as being able to jump to different sections, along with the header information, along with the footer information in the bottom, the business process flow, if a record has been associated with the business process flow, and then the details of the record itself. So hopefully you found this beneficial. If you did, hit the thumbs up so we know you liked it. I would love to connect with you and hear from you, so please leave a comment down below and make sure to subscribe so you know the next time we're releasing a video. Have a great one.